Hey, everybody, welcome to Love Where You Live, Tampa Bay, another episode. I have my friend Mark here. We're going to talk to you today about the market and if your hair should be on fire or not. So stay tuned. Here we go. All right, Mark, how you doing today?
I am doing great. Happy to be a part of this once again. Thank you for having me, Debbie.
I am excited to talk about this today. I don't know about you, but I've been really busy. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about what the year is going to bring. That's like the $1 million question. You go on YouTube and you have all kinds of people talking about all kinds of things. So I wanted to kind of just you and I kind of hash through what we think is going to happen between now and the end of the year. What's the forecast looking like?
So I would have to say, and unfortunately, the front part of the year we were victim to increasing interest rates that went from in the 3 percentile just as soon as maybe July of last year, that by the end of the year we were touching the sevens. And we've seen a little bit of traction for rates coming back down a little bit. We got back down to the low to mid sixes at this point in time, but I've heard prognosticators all over the map on this.
Right. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
if I were a betting man, it seems like we've sort of stabilized here over the last couple of months. There's a couple factors that could make some differences one way or another, but like you said when we were speaking before we started this, that you had read somewhere that one of the large governmental entities were predicting that we were going to be essentially in about the same spot by the end of the year as we are now.
Yeah. Freddie Mac.
So I'm thinking that we are seeing the new normal. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. You've got a story to tell. I've got a story to tell, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. But I think we've stabilized at this point in time. We're going to see some give up, some give down. It's going to fluctuate a little bit, but I don't think it's going to move too far off the mark where we're at right now. Like I said, I think things have sort of stabilized and we're in a new normal at this point in time.
I think, when we look at it at a top level view, we see that number one, this is Florida, and every single person in the universe wanted to be in Florida in the past 3 years. So that's kind of just going to lay that there, right? So this is
Right.
paradise, and paradise has a price. Well, all the people moving in, our prices went up, right? Because the demand went up to be here. The demand went sky high. The economy, nationally, internationally, globally, everybody is kind of in a restructure. We see a lot of big players on the scene making changes. I mean, if you go on to Forbes or any other economic show, they're talking about oil and this and that, and I think those all at the end of the day kind of play a part what's happening here. But Florida, I don't think we're going to see a big dramatic 2008 situation, that we lived through previously. Have we seen like a cooling off in certain areas? We have, but I think it was overinflated. So I think it's an adjustment, honestly. Do we still have bidding wars like we did in the past couple years? There may be in a couple neighborhoods if there's a great house there, but by and large, I think people are having more success as we move forward with actually getting into what they want. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, I don't, like you said, I don't think we're going to see anything like 2008 because I think they put enough stop gags into the system with everything they did with Dodd-Frank to prevent that from happening. It's a completely, entirely different situation. What was going on
Absolutely.
then was that you had a lot of people that were bought in 100% into a home on an adjustable rate mortgage. And when the correction came and those adjustables came due, they could not be refinanced and it caused a lot of foreclosure.
Right.
That's not the situation now. The default rate on mortgages are really, really very low at this point in time. For the most part, almost everything has been done on a fixed rate, so you don't have that problem with a fluctuating mortgage payment. So you're right. I don't think that you will see that. I do know of a couple of people that I've spoken to recently that told me that they were in a situation where they had multiple offers, on some properties. So, so that's I think that's a good sign. That just tells me that the real estate market is still healthy.
Well, and I think in Florida, we have micro markets in Florida, right? The beach is a micro market. Being in an urban area is a micro market. Being in a more rural setting is a micro market. And the demand is different for each of those, depending on the time of year. We have we have a high season, we have the moving season, we have summer, we have all kinds of movement during our year with different types of market, different types of the market moving, And so, that being said, some people trying to get close to the beach, they understand they're going to pay a premium for that. Others who want to be in a more urban area, they know that they want to be in an area that facilitates transportation or can get them where they need to go quickly because they don't want to have a car. You know what I mean? So if they want to live closer to downtown St. Pete, that city is really trying to create that type of environment.
It is booming.
It is. It's huge. In Tampa, downtown Tampa, same thing, So it's all about the micro markets and what's happening in each one of those. And I think, as far as prices go, we've seen a little bit of a cooling, but if it's a good house, it goes for a premium. And like I said, Florida's not changing. Sunshine's not going away last time I checked, and I don't have a crystal ball, if something's going to hit the sun tomorrow. But I think that we are in a position where we're going to hold steady with some of this stuff. It's the interest rates that's the variable.
Right.
So if we can see, based on some pretty heavy hitters, that we're at 6% now, and we're probably going to be at 6% at the end of the year, we might go up or down or fluctuate as they attempt to adjust and wrap their hands around the economy. I don't think that we need to be setting our hair on fire like a lot of these people on YouTube, it's a crash. It's not a crash, at least not here. I mean, it may be in California for the folks talking about what's happened in Oklahoma, California, New York. It's not here. This is paradise, a little different.
Right.
So, what do you think about the buy, sell, or wait? What's your position on that?
Well, I have spoken this to a lot of people throughout my career, and here I'm going to tell my story that you and I were talking about before we came on here in just a minute. But I've said this on your video channel before, that not to worry about what's going on in the economy globally, nationally, regionally. The economy that you really need to worry about is your own economy. And if you're in a position where the numbers work, it's a affordable payment for you, you can fix your housing costs by owning as opposed to renting, do it, because you could wait in anticipation or thinking or listening to some prognosticator telling you that interest rates should go down somewhere during the course of the year, and that doesn't happen, and they go up from the mid sixes to the mid sevens, upper sevens, and then you're going to be kicking yourself in the backside because you didn't pull the trigger earlier in the process.
Right.
If you pull the trigger now and rates were to go down, you can always refinance into that lower interest rate. But if you don't buy now, waiting for interest rates to come down, and they don't, and they go up, like I said, you have just been a detriment to yourself as part of the process. And I'm going to tell a little story about that. So I was talking to a younger couple. They've been used to seeing interest rates that are running in 2% and the 3% for the last several years. And in talking to them, they said, well, we think we're going to hold out and wait for interest rates to come down because it's really not a buyer's market. And I said, well, you think it's not a buyer's market because the interest rates are up a little bit? And she said, well, yeah. And I said, okay, but let me ask you a question. I said, first of all, I've been doing mortgages for 25 years. I remember writing double-digit interest rates. I remember in the early 2000s that a great fixed rate was like 7.75, close to 8%. I said, so you think the interest rate dictates a buyer's or seller's market? And she said, yeah, it's less affordable than it was several months ago. I said, well, you've got to remember that you are coming off historical lows that, because of what happened in 2008, it has taken a long time for it to come full circle where they felt comfortable enough to raise the overnight banking rate, which had a correlation with mortgage interest rates and everything else. I said, but think about this. This was in March of this year. If you are talking about going back to March of 2022 and you were going out trying to buy a home for your family, you went to an open house and there were 10 investors there, most of them cash buyers, lining up to make offers well over list price. And you as an individual or a family trying to buy a home could not even get in on the action. You were completely shut out of the process. And I think I told the story before about an investor I had that made 11 offers on different properties, turned down on all of them. One of them was $80,000 over list price waiving appraisal, and they still got turned down. So that was the environment in March of 2022. Move forward to March, now April of 2023. Because of some of the negative tones in the media out there about, don't buy, interest rates are crazy, this, that, and the other, there's less competition in the marketplace. Homes are still selling, but instead of being snatched up and being shown pending within a day or two of going on MLS, they're now running on average about 60 days, some of them a little bit longer, but they're still selling. But because of a little additional time on the market, because there's not a million people rushing to buy these homes, you've now got an opportunity where you as a buyer for your family, as an individual, have a chance to actually get in, make an offer, compete, maybe be the only one to the table with that offer. And it's great. So, like I've always said, and I just said a second ago, rate is really not relative. But I used to work with a guy that used to tell me price is what you pay, value is what you get. And if there's value in making that purchase and it works within your budget and it's going to put you and your family into a home rather than being held with a gun to your head by your landlord who's going to increase your monthly payment each year as a new lease comes up, I always say it's best to fix your costs, work with your budget, and know what you've got to work with. Like I said, if rates ever go down, you can always refinance and even do a little bit better for your budget. But now's the time. I think we're in that new normal, and it's time for everybody who's been sitting on the sidelines thinking some magic bullet was going to come that was going to make everything all right, or something like that, that it's time for them to reconsider, hey, this is my opportunity. This is the time right now. That's whether you're buying, whether you're selling, because if you're selling, more than likely you're also buying as well. I've seen a lot of different times where different situations, people have waited to buy because they thought that, they could get something different, and within a year's time, that house that they could have bought for like $275,000 is now selling for $400,000, and they kicked themselves in the backside once again for waiting that out. Same thing can happen with that scenario that I talked about, the interest rate, where could it go down? Absolutely. And if it goes down, you've got the opportunity to refinance. Could it go up? Absolutely. And when it does, you're going to be disappointed in yourself that you didn't get into the market. So
yeah, and I think those are pretty important things, like we were talking earlier. Stabilizing what your monthly nut is, or your annual nut, or trying to get a handle on your finances so they don't fluctuate. Let's be real. The price of food has shot through the roof. Gas is on its way. We can't control necessarily those costs. housing costs is something we can attempt to control. And so it's important to own rather than to rent if you can. I mean, there are times you can't, let's face it. You know, everybody goes through that season. But if you can possibly afford to buy something, it is in your best interest to do that. And even for people who, look, you can't get the perfect house you want. You want the $500,000 house with a $300,000 budget, then buy the $300,000 house. And then when things change, and they will, because this is real estate, right? It goes up, it goes down. That's just how the ebb and flow from the beginning of time, right? It's supply and demand. And so you can take that property, you can use it as an investment, and then you can use it to step up to what you do want. There is a way to use the current market to your advantage. You just have to figure out how is that going to work for you. So I got a story, a couple. So one of them is the condo market. I have a seller. She sold her home. It was a bidding war. I was pretty shocked. So was everybody else, you know, even the people making the offers, you know, they were like, oh, this, that. I'm like, yeah, no, really, we have 4 solid offers. I mean, they were all solid people. And she took the best offer for them. And so they're relocating to the other coast of Florida, and they're looking at condos. Well, those condos cost just as much as the house they just sold. And the taxes are higher over on the other coast, and, you know, insurance. It just all of a sudden it became it was a large purchase. Now I have another buyer from California coming in to buy on this coast, and they want to buy a condo. Completely night and day. So we go condo shopping. She has a budget in the $200,000 range. There's a lot of inventory in that range. I was like, wow. And some of it's even adjusting because it's been on the market, because condo buyers are a little different. They're like her. They're out of state. They don't live locally, that kind of thing. So the rates on this coast for condos are pretty reasonable. Not so much on the other coast of Florida, apparently. But you know what? It's a different dynamic over there. They have a different lifestyle over there. It's different micro markets over there, you know. But I was just using that as an example. Some of the condo developments, like I have a listing in a place called Seminole Gardens. How affordable? It's the most affordable place in Pinellas County, you know, and it, you know, condos in there are in the 150s for 2-bedroom, 2-bath. That's a pretty good that's a pretty good price in Pinellas County. You're not going to find that most places, you know. And then there are other homes down in South St. Pete. They're in the 5s just to get a 2-2. You know, so it just depends on the market you're in, right? So that's my story. It depends on where you want to be, and that's probably the most important thing. Where do you want to be? We can hunt. You know, we're good hunters. We can find the deals. We can find the house. And then you can figure out with Mark financially, what is the best decision for you? How do you want to move forward in a purchase? You want to buy? My vote is, if you're going to buy now. If you're going to sell now. It's going to be exactly the same now as at the end of the year, except for we know what's happening right now. And the end of the year requires a crystal ball, and we don't have one. But all the predictions say it's going to be the same, basically, as we are right now. So it appears that we're stable. I would say pull the trigger, get where you want to go, and do it now. Don't wait. Don't wait on the interest rates. Don't wait on the prices to fall. I don't think either one are going to dramatically shift. And if they do, Mark's already laid out how you can kind of compensate for those shifts in the market. But being an owner is paramount, especially in the future we're heading to. You know, they want to have like a complete rental type society, and ownership is premium. You want to own your home. And I know that sounds really old school, but you know, your parents and my parents, they all drilled into our head. You get a house and you pay it off, so it's yours. I think that still holds true today. I think it's a very important concept, and nobody wants to be a slave to a landlord. Unless you're the landlord, right? Unless you're the landlord, and that's different. but you understand what I'm saying. It's about stabilizing your finances and stabilizing your financial future, and it's important. So that's kind of my story. But I did want to throw out, did you hear what DeSantis said about the Hometown Heroes program?
Yes, I see where he is put some money back into the pockets of a lot of different organizations, nonprofits, developmental companies for new builds, affordable housing. He just put $100 million back into the Hometown Heroes program here in the state of Florida. That is an absolutely fabulous program. It's a
It
lot
is.
different than a lot of down payment assistance programs. You and I have touched on it on previous videos. I was glad to see that because there's always the possibility that once the funding is done, the funding is done.
Right.
And they always replenish it, but you just don't know when. Well, we hadn't replenished the funds, or we hadn't ran out of the funds, I should say. And they put funds back into the program. So that's a good thing. That's a great opportunity for a lot of people out there to get in and do some different things like that. So I was excited. That was great news the other day. So
Well, in St. Pete, I know is looking for affordable housing alternatives with some of the office space in downtown. Even Tampa's looking into doing something along those lines. I think they have reconciled economically that we are outpacing and outpricing a lot of people here. So they are trying to make adjustments statewide to recognize that. And they are trying to develop housing alternatives for people, 1, 2 bedrooms, small units, but there are still affordable options. Even those things aren't online yet, they are coming. I would say by the end of the year, we're probably going to see a lot of that pop up. But
mhm.
I would say for now, there are also other affordable opportunities so you don't have to leave the area. But, and when I say the area, I'm talking Tampa Bay, I'm talking Pasco County, I'm talking Hillsborough County, I'm talking Manatee County, I'm talking Pinellas County, and even Hernando and Citrus are very affordable places to live, and they're beautiful. So, Tampa Bay is sprawling. Lakeland, great place. A lot of people heading to Lakeland. It's a beautiful county, great great sheriff. We see him on the news all the time.
I love
Um,
Grady.
Grady Judd, he's definitely a good sheriff. He's a good guy. So, Tampa Bay is a big place, and you're only an hour from the beach, really, an hour or so. So, if you can't live close to the beach, you can live close. You can live within driving distance, and that's a good thing. It's a great thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, tell us how you can help make dreams come true for buyers.
Well, really, really cool things. So a couple things that I can do is that I've got my normal pre-qualification process. So when I talk to a buyer, it's usually about a 10-15 minute conversation. I'm looking for some specific information to put it into the system just to give them an idea as far as what their buying power looks like. But one of the cool things I've got going on is that I've got an in-house underwriter that will actually take that buyer's documentation that they would normally supply as part of the loan process, pre-underwrite it, and put a rubber stamp on it. It's something we call mortgage assured. So you are pre-approved, and all you got to really do at that point in time is find the property that matches with the numbers that we have, and you should be able to close 14, 21 days, something like that. So
Okay, so that is exceptional. And I have to reiterate, number one, when you present an offer to a seller and you have pre-approval with that kind of stamp, that's almost as good as cash. Second, that short closing period of time also gives you the same power as a cash buyer, because typically they don't close in 5 days because they've got to run title search. I mean, there's a lot that has to go into closing. So 21 days, yeah. Call Mark and then call me.
So, we'll call Debbie first because needless to say, if you're looking in that spot, she's probably going to tell you, well, you need to talk to Mark, and that's just fine. But at least you can get an idea as far as what you're looking for, what are the things that you're wanting in your new home. Debbie can start to maybe take a look at a few different things, or at least get you into the system as far as what are the items that are going to be your absolutes that you need to have, things that are maybe not necessarily needs but wants as part of the property that maybe we need to scale back a little bit as part of the process, depending on what happens. But like I said, if you work with me, I can give you that pre-qualification same day. And if you get me your documents, I can have you a pre-approval within 2 days from there. So
That's awesome. That is awesome. And it's important right now. It gives you a lot of power to push the front of the line if you're in a bidding war, and a lot of power with someone who might be looking at a cash offer. So I think that's mission critical, and we can find you something. There are gems here. We may have to go a little further out than you wanted to go, but owning something is going to be much better than renting.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
like I said, Debbie's absolutely great. So I don't mean to give you a shameless plug here, but I work with a lot of realtors, and I work with some realtors that are like transactional realtors, really don't care. They just want to slam everything through and they want to get paid. It is such a breath of refreshment to work with a realtor like Debbie, because she is truly empathetic to all her buyers and sellers' needs. I've never seen anybody that really covers all the bases and looks out for everybody's best interest. It's like I said, it's a breath of fresh air from some of the people that I work with. So Debbie, just let me say I thank you for allowing me to work with you, because you are a bright spot in all the people that I work with. So
I appreciate that, Mark. You as well. I think we care to a fault almost, really. Some people didn't deserve it, but we did it anyway. They
well,
couldn't get out of their own
think
way.
I think they all deserve it, regardless of how the
Uh,
process went and everything like that. It's just that's what we do. We are care about people.
right? Yeah. No, you know what? We're not churn and burn, and you're going to find in real estate. It's a good thing to look for in a realtor. Good thing to look for in the mortgage or banking or trying to get a loan. The loan process. You don't want a churn and burn person. You want someone that you can talk to, possibly face to face, especially when it comes to your mortgage needs, and someone who is going to react to you and your situation and understand what you need. I mean, again, there are a lot of churn and burn people. And unfortunately, through the pandemic, that's what it felt like. I mean, there are people just coming at you 100 miles an hour. Oh my gosh, we got to make an offer. Can you help us? They're going from one realtor to the next, thinking it was the realtor was the problem. It's not the realtor's problem. It's the offer. The offer is the problem. And that you were going up against cash. Nobody was going to win there but cash. And so, they kind of were firing realtors left and right, and they would come and say, hey, can you help me? It's like, it's not, I don't, I don't have any magic sauce. Right. So unless you got a briefcase full of cash, you can somehow get into the bank. So you can make the purchase. That's about the only thing that's going to save you at this point. But that was years ago. We've kind of winded out of that. Thank goodness. I don't think that was a great market for anybody. It was a hard market. It was a very fast market. I know there were a lot of transactions, but it is the single hardest market I have ever been in real estate since 2007. With the last 3 years. This year has been better. For the last couple of years, it was a hard market. It was hard to see buyers lose bids. It was hard to keep going to properties you knew they probably weren't going to be able to bid high enough on to get in. That it's hard to watch buyer. It's so hard to watch that.
Right.
And participate in it and try to coach people, to spend their money, and you're like, well, you're not going to get it unless you overpay for the house at that time. If you want it, you gotta put some cash down. And that was also hard, but
And
at the end of the day, they were happy. So,
and that's the good thing that's going on right now. When we were talking about 2008 versus now, 2008 was different circumstances.
Yeah.
We had talked about the adjustable rate mortgages that were coming with payments rising and being upside down underwater in the houses and everything like that, causing foreclosures. They, like I said, they put enough stop gags in the system to prevent that from happening. What we're seeing right now is truly just a correction.
Yeah,
and
I believe that.
That happens from time to time. Like we've always said, it's a cyclical business. What goes up comes down. What goes down comes up. but this is not a hard stop like we had in 2007, 2008.
Well, and not to be the gloom and doom realtor here, but say all hell breaks loose. Do you want to be in a house you own, or that you're in a mortgage with a fixed rate, or do you want to be at the landlord's mercy?
Right.
That's the bottom line, right? Where do you want to end up if it hits the fan? That's what you got to think about. I mean, and that's really the bottom line. It's still better to buy and sell right now to make those changes and to get yourself in a better position if you can. There are a lot of people who are renting that wish that they could purchase and they're just not there yet. They're going to be at the mercy of whatever the market is at that point if it happens, and that's a gloom and doom. And I don't know that that's going to happen, and I don't have a crystal ball, and I'm not setting my hair on fire like everybody on YouTube, like, oh no, but I am saying that you are always going to be in a better position having a mortgage and having a controlled cost.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
All right. Well, I think we're done for today. This is how you can reach me. LoveWhereYouLiveTampaBay.com. My phone number's there, 813-775-8516. Give me a call. We'll chat. We'll get you set up. And Mark, you want to tell them how to get in touch with you?
absolutely. So probably the best way to reach me is via my cell phone. I almost always answer it. I always make the joke. I am Walmart's not open 24 hours anymore. They used to be, but I used to say I am the Walmart of mortgage lenders because it seems like I work around the clock. But my cell phone number is 727-564-2493. Give me a call, even if I'm not doing anything for you. If you just want to chat or get some information,
Right.
I absolutely love helping people. So I love my job.
Yeah, definitely. We do love where we work. We love where we live and we love what we do, and it shows, I think. So we'll have all that information in the bottom of the video. Just click that little more ... and you'll see all the contact information here, and let us know how we can help. All right. Thanks, Mark. Until next time.
Thank you, Debbie.
Bye.
Bye.